Welcome to this edition of my podcast, Real Estate Ripoffs, holding big business accountable in the real estate industry. This week, we're going to look into credit reporting agencies. Now, I've been in real estate since 1986. I started as a lender. And these companies, the credit reporting agencies, to me, are kind of like a cross between the mafia and street thugs, in that the game is fixed for them. They get to set the rules by paying politicians to get laws changed to their favor, and then we're stuck playing with them. So I'm going to go through a few reasons why I believe the system is distracting us and getting us poor results, and we need to hold them accountable. You know, interesting article by Fortune magazine. They just become a clown organization, trumpeting corporate malfeasance. The Fair Credit Reporting Act, what it is and how it protects consumers. Let me just tell you something. It doesn't protect consumers. It protects lenders. It protects the credit agencies. It protects the government agencies. The one people who are really abused in our credit system are consumers. And this really had done nothing to help us. It's the systems to distract us and to have us pay for fees that don't make any sense. If you go to this article, which is just hysterical, I think, you have to be notified if information your credit file was used against you. Yeah, you get a letter in the mail. Good luck with that. Good luck getting the actual information. Good luck getting it corrected. You have the right to know the information contained in your file. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. You go online and then you have to sign up, and then they give you 8 sales pitches for other products. You can request a credit score. Again, you get a free one. But wow, that's kind of like buying a car. You're going to get 3 or 4 different pitches for upgrades. You have the right to dispute inaccurate information. That's a fun process. Most people really aren't capable of getting that done. As a professional, I get that done for customers and have in the past. Credit reporting agencies can't report outdated negative information, but they do all the time. We've all had that experience. They can only share the report if there's a valid need. These agencies, I'm going to go through it, have had nothing but nonstop data breaches. So to say it's a need, they have all your data in one place, and then hackers attack them and get our data. You can opt out pre-screened offers. Yeah, right. As if that ever happens. I'm a D&C list. I get called all the time on that. You have the right to place a security freeze on your credit. That is effective. That's a pain if you ever use it. I've done that before when we were broken in, and it's very, very difficult. And you can seek damages from violators. I've never heard anybody getting paid damages. What they'll do is they'll give you some bogus lifestyle, or what's it called, LifeLock protection, which is just another gimmick, and then they want you to renew it and pay for it going forward. So this is the nonsense that we're told, that the credit reporting agency system is set up for a benefit, when in reality, the only people set up for are the financial institutions. Let's talk about some reasons why. Number one, distraction. You will never get wealthy by watching your credit. Now, you have to pay your bills. You got to pay on time. You shouldn't borrow money. You should live debt-free, other maybe your mortgage or money for a business. But these programs like Credit Karma is an app that sends you deals of credit cards. You know, there was a time I was really into that. I'll give you one example. I was driving a lot, and I got a Unit 76 app and credit card that gave me 5% off gas. It seemed like a great deal. The problem was all these companies now want you to be on paperless systems. They would send the bill, and it would go to spam. So then I didn't pay the bill, and then they would charge me a late fee and some ridiculous interest rate. And when I called them to complain, they said, well, you can go on auto payment. This is their game plan. They want all of us on auto payment. So they even send us a bill, and we just get our credit payments deducted from our bank account because of their incompetence. So all this is a distraction of the multiple credit cards. Now, look, I have a business credit card. I have a personal credit card. And I have one for each that we don't use as backups, ready to go. And they get us cash rewards. It's enough. It's enough. But to sit there and watch for updates and watch for new programs, I'd rather work on making more income. That's going to change my bottom line more than finding some deal in Credit Karma or some related application. Number two, data breaches. It has been nonstop. The latest, Equifax, let me just pull this up real fast. Suppose you get $20,000 back for a settlement of $380 million. The largest breach of its kind, 147 million people. Now, we only have 330 Americans, of which maybe half are adults. So I would imagine virtually every single adult in America's credit's been breached thanks to Equifax. Unbelievable. Like, what's their job? Their job is to take your data. They just told us how they're responsible to keep it private, and they don't. They sell it to everybody, and who they sell it to, they let hackers get it for free. The only reason they safeguard your data, they don't want hackers to have it because they want to sell it to the hackers. So there's been nonstop breaches of these companies. I mean, it's every 6 months there's another big one. Big lenders, title companies, banks, nonstop. And then they compensate you most commonly with their service. They use this LifeLock feature, which I think is really valueless. It sounds great. They kind of sold the public that that's a way to compensate you. But in reality, there's some other thing that's watching your credit. Think of the inherent risks when you get another program and put your password in, connect your accounts. It's just one more person with access to your data that just doesn't need it. Number 3, what the credit system does is empowers incompetent lenders, such as, and this is the one that's most commonly a problem, medical providers. I've had this happen. The medical system, since, I don't want to make it political, but since the government takeover of healthcare in 2008, really the medical care system runs like the post office, but worse. And somebody said the other day, I'm unfair to the post office. It's true. The post office is way better than billing at Cedars-Sinai or USC CAC or some of these medical services we deal with. I had an occasion where I had a procedure and the hospital used the old insurance information, even though I'd updated, even though whenever you go in now, they always ask you for new insurance information. So they had it. They billed it wrong. They got back like 2 months later. I said, well, hey, you have the wrong information. And then I asked them to resubmit it. They never replied to me. They came back to me 7 months after the procedure and submitted it. And of course, the insurance turned it down and said, after 6 months, they won't honor it. Well, I don't blame them. So the medical company says, oh, they're going to just put it on my credit. I said, well, no, you can't do that. You didn't bill in a timely manner. You have an obligation. Now, I know this. But what happens is people have these collection accounts that, in my experience, many times are the incompetency of the lender, not the customer. And so now it goes on your credit and can stop you from buying a house or refinancing a house. Number 4, these credit services have really empowered the masters of the universe. If you don't notice, the whole world's consolidating to a few companies, the big tech companies, Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Netflix, and certain financial companies, certain banks, Citibank, Chase, B of A. But the big forces behind all that are the people with equity, Vanguard, BlackRock, T. Rowe Price. So it's interesting that when you look at the ownership of these companies, Equifax, their largest shareholders are Vanguard, BlackRock, and T. Rowe Price. Experienced top holder is Vanguard. TransUnion is Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, and BlackRock. So it's interesting, the owners own the same companies. Why is that? Because I just think it's an excuse to get you to buy 2 and 3 of the same thing. They have no additional value, right? I mean, from where I said, why would you need an Equifax and an Experian and a TransUnion? Don't any of them do their job properly? Don't any of them get everything reported? Do they coordinate together the ones they don't have? Do they share data? If they don't share data, do they get it all from the banks? The whole thing is just really, these are all the same people playing the same game with the power levers in their hands against the consumer. Number 5, this pushes customers to unsavory credit fixtures. One of the challenges when you buy a house is the pricing in your mortgage is based on your credit score. And sometimes you have somebody's, mistake, most commonly some sort of collection account for medical on your credit score. And people will pay people to get those removed. Or they have old credit debt, maybe it's from a divorce, maybe from a situation years ago. And they'll pay people a lot of money to get things removed. Now, there are good credit fixers and bad. But it kind of pushes people, the focus on credit scores pushes people to focus just on that rather than maybe making more money and putting a larger down payment and making the credit score less important. Number 6, there's a moving target. There's multiple scores. The score you get from Equifax, TransUnion, Experian is not the same one your lenders use. It's really funny. People will go online and get the credit score, and they get their little app on their phone, and they feel all empowered. But the reality is that's not the same data that the lenders are using. And so it's just like a game of three-card Monte, where wherever you're moving, you don't have the right information. And it's really done on purpose. Next is, really, these services are loss leaders. They're actually charging money for you to use their service now. So they collect your data. They get lenders to need their score to lend you money. And then they say to you, oh, by the way, if you pay us money, we'll give your report, we'll update you, and that way you can check any mistakes that we have on your credit score. I mean, it's just, they're charging money now to correct their inadequacies. What other business does that? And what's the ultimate game? The ultimate game here, I think, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy nut or a hater, but I think the ultimate game is a digital central bank currency. I think the goal here of the ruling class, of the big financial institutions, of our politicians, is to have a currency that they control, just like in Canada, so that when people act out, they can just turn off their credit. They can turn off their credit cards. They can close up their bank accounts. And we saw that, and again, whether you like President Trump or not, we saw that how during the post-election period, 2020, that companies just closed him down, banks started to debank him. That's a small percentage of what we all will be facing. Imagine if you have a religious belief, or let's say you have an affiliation with a country, either pro-Israel or you're pro-Ukraine or anti-Israel or anti-Ukraine. Imagine the politicians being able to just turn off your bank account with a digital central bank currency. So I think that's the game they're ultimately going to when all the data is consolidated. I don't think nobody is doing that work to empower consumers. They're doing that work to make money off of you. And so what should you do of all this? Well, let's be aware consumers. I wouldn't spend a penny on services from these mafioso. I wouldn't pay a penny to Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax, number one. Number two, focus on making money. Now, I of course, pay your bills on time. Of course. Don't take debt. Limit your credit cards. In fact, I'm at a point now where, like I said, I just have one card for business, one for personal. Just simplify my life. Because the time spent finding they didn't post a payment or got there 2 days late, it just isn't worth the time. I'd rather spend the time making an extra sale, making a $10,000, $20,000 commission, rather than following up on a credit card, saving 2%. My wife uses Macy's. Now, look, she's my wife, and I have to let her do what she wants to do. But I hate it. And she actually goes, when she goes to Macy's, actually goes up to the finance department and pays off the card on the spot, because she knows I hate getting a statement in the mail from a credit company. So we can be educated. We can take responsibility for ourselves. I think that's the other part of this is, I think the credit scores are set up to make you feel there's some power greater than you. And your job is to kind of negotiate with that power with your credit score versus taking control, make more money, pay off all your debt, accumulate assets, have a larger down payment so the credit score is not such a big deal. I think if you do all that, you can avoid the ripoff of credit report agencies. So as a result of that, of real estate ripoffs, one of the biggest one are these credit agencies. If you like this material, there's a new podcast we have out where I'm going to talk about the major corporations and how they affect us in our business. If you have thoughts, put your comments in, send me an email or text. As always, make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.